Hey everyone, welcome back to Noiseberry Games. I just finished playing the game Life is Strange True Colors and wanted to do a little review on it. I decided not to do a first impressions John's watch video on this game just because it is so story heavy and story driven that I thought I wouldn't do the game justice by just playing the first 20 minutes and then leaving it at that. So I decided instead just to play the whole game and then talk about it, which is what I'm doing now. So Life is Strange True Colors was released on September 9th, 2021. Its regular price is $59.99 US, or your regional equivalent, and it's developed by Deck Nine and published by Square Enix. And just before we get any further into the video, I do have to say that Square Enix provided me with a review code for this game. Pretty much every game I do a review of, I get a review code from, but Square Enix wanted me to mention it, so got the game for free, and I'm talking about it now. So if you somehow haven't heard of the Life is Strange series, they are very story-driven. They are very similar to Telltale games, but with a much higher production value, I think. Typically, the game will run for about 10 hours. It's split into 5 chapters, usually each chapter taking about 2 hours, and that definitely holds true for Life is Strange True Colors. I think my playtime was probably around 10 to 12 hours. I left it running. I had to run out for a little bit, so my Steam playtime is not accurate, but I think about 10 to 12 hours for me to play it. Just before I get any further into the video, if you're interested in the game, I would advise not going on the Steam page. Go on there to buy it if that's what you fancy, but try not to read anything on the Steam page. In the description for the game, it spoils something that happens at the end of the first chapter, so for some reason it just throws away a plot point that happens about 2 hours into your playtime. Somehow, I managed to completely avoid reading about this, so when it happened in the game, I was still surprised, and then I hopped onto the store page after finishing it, and I'd realized that the spoiler's just right there. So that's interesting. So in this game, you play as 20-something, I think, 20-something-year-old girl called Alex Chen, and she has some powers. She thinks it's a curse, but she has the ability to experience, absorb, and manipulate the strong emotions of others. So throughout the game, when you're playing as Alex, you'll see people reacting strongly, and you'll be able to kind of feel their thoughts and understand what they're feeling in that moment. And this can range from extreme sadness, fear, or anger. So True Colors is a little bit more almost supernatural, I guess, just with the fact that your character can feel these emotions, a bit more supernatural than some of the other games. And so Alex Chen has had a pretty rough childhood, pretty difficult upbringing, and she moves to the small town of Haven Springs in Colorado to come live with her brother. And I've got to say, I absolutely love the setting of this. As someone who lives in southern Alberta and is an hour-and-a-half drive away from a town that looks almost exactly like Haven Springs, I absolutely loved the setting of this place. You're surrounded by beautiful open skies and really tall snow-covered mountains around you. Everything's made of wood, and the setting is absolutely beautiful. The graphics are amazing in this game. I think they've definitely stepped those up a little bit. But yeah, the location, absolutely loved it. I really like northern parts of the states, like Colorado and Montana. And I just have to give a special shout out to Erica Mori, who is the voice actress for Alex Chen. Went to look at her on IMDb. Turns out this is her first role, and I think she is the strongest voice actor in the entire game. She conveys so many of the emotions that Alex feels throughout the game so well. There's times where she raises her voice and becomes quite a formidable figure, and then there's other times where she makes her voice sound so small and hurt, and she has such incredible range. I was really impressed with her voice acting especially. I can't believe this is her first role. I obviously do not want to talk about the story at all in this game. I've given a very brief overview of what happens. Alex comes to town of Haven Springs, finds a mystery. There you go, that's as in-depth as I'm going in the story. But I found the story very, very enjoyable. I think Life is Strange 1's story is still my favorite. I haven't actually played 2, but I've played 1 and Before the Storm. And I think the story of Life is Strange 1 still still wins out, but True Colors is a really, really good story. Was very impressed. So I guess we've probably got to talk about the pricing. I don't think original Life is Strange is on Steam anymore because they're bringing out the remastered version. But Life is Strange Before the Storm is still on Steam, and the full package for that is $16.99 US. It's just like a prequel to the original Life is Strange. I think people were saying that True Colors is double the price of what the previous entries into the series were. And as much as I love the game, I could not justify paying $80 Canadian for it. I don't really know why they decided to go for full AAA price point for this. Like, these kinds of story-driven games are so niche. And I do think the price point of the previous games was probably right on. Like, I still haven't bought Life is Strange 2. But for a relatively short experience, you know, I think like $40 is probably a decent asking price, but they did just about double the price for this. And the graphics have definitely stepped up. Like, I can see comparisons between True Colors and Before the Storm. The graphics are definitely a lot nicer in True Colors, but the length of the game is about the same. I think some people were even saying that True Colors is a bit shorter than previous entries. And in my opinion, it doesn't quite justify the increased asking price, unfortunately. I'd love to say it does, but if you look at some of the games you can get for the same price, it's not really comparable, in my opinion. That's not to say that I have anything negative to say about the game. I think I had an entirely positive experience. I think I played the whole thing in about 5 days or something. Just wanted to note that I think the pricing is not quite right. I can't really talk too much more about the game without going into more details. Just I guess if I was to compare it to Life is Strange 1, like I said, I think the story is stronger in Life is Strange 1, but I do think the characters, especially of Alex in True Colors, are a lot stronger than the previous entry. Especially the protagonist. I remember in Life is Strange 1 that you play as, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but Max is quite reserved for most of the game. Whereas, like I said before, Alex Chen really shows some dynamic range in her emotions throughout the game. I do also want to say that I thought some of the choices were particularly impactful in this game. Throughout the game you have lots of choices, some are just small ones that don't really have much impact, it's just like a small dialogue choice. But then some choices have pretty big consequences, and I think there were at least 2 of these big choices where I just had to sit there and look at the screen, and I really had to think about which choice I wanted to make. So I think it's very impressive when games manage to make you think that hard about a decision. And there you go. Yeah, I can't really talk too much more about the game without getting too much into detail and spoiling things. But overall, really, really loved the game. I'm a sucker for these story-driven games. Sometimes, especially after work, man, I just wanna sit back in my chair, put a controller on my lap, and occasionally push buttons on it and just experience a really good story. And Life is Strange True Colors has been fantastic for that for me. Really, really loved playing it. There's actually a bonus episode coming out on September 30th. You get a prequel side story for one of the characters. So that's not out yet, but I'm very excited to play that when it does come out. That's only in the deluxe edition though, not in the base game. So you'll be paying more than the $60 US for that one. So there you go, just some final thoughts on Life is Strange True Colors. Overall, really liked it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!